Good afternoon, ma. Let me just say some few things I think are very, very important about the minimum wage changes in Nigeria and how it has affected the school. Minimum wage in Nigeria has seen various adjustments over time, and this has been reflecting economic conditions and labor demands. And I want our viewers, our listeners rather, to know that the impact of minimum wage changes on school can vary depending on factors like the school type, maybe it's a public or private school, the location, and economic conditions. But one thing I have noticed so far so good is that many of the various changes that we have come across in Nigeria have affected Nigerian school positively until recently. If I want to go back the memory lane, in 1981, the minimum wage for citizens or workers in Nigeria is 125 naira per month. That is approximately about, let's say, $30. In 1990, it changed to 250 naira per month, approximately about 60 USD dollars. In 1998, this same money changed to 3,000 naira per month. In year 2000, it was changed to 5,500 naira. In 2010, it changed to 18,000 naira per month, approximately 120 USD. In 2029, it was changed to 30,000 naira, and it was from that 30,000 naira that we now have the 70,000 naira minimum wage. Like I said earlier, minimum wage or wages have affected school in various ways. Yeah, when I say various schools, I want to talking about public schools. I think it has impacted or affected public school positively. Why? Because during the time that all these changes come about, when they came about, things were still very good and nice in Nigeria. There was no inflation. Even as little as 100 naira was like, let me say, 200,000 then. So teachers were happy, workers were happy. Both public school teachers and workers generally in Nigeria were happy, even when they were collecting 125 naira per month, like I've said in 1981. But presently, the same cannot said to be the same. Things have changed drastically. So far so good. While the people in the public servants and which are school teachers and other workers could have been enjoying the minimum wage, like the previous years that I've explained. I can never really say that the same thing applies to the private schools. Why? Because more private schools are financed by individuals. So many of these individuals, majority of them will have collected loans from banks. So why the people in the public sectors are jubilating, we couldn't see much happiness in private schools. But notwithstanding, during those periods that I've mentioned earlier, like in 1981, 1990, 1998, 2000, yeah, 2010, 2019, we can never compare the public servant which are school owners to private owners because of the one major point I've made earlier, that majority will have collected money. But notwithstanding, they were still enjoying, because why? Even though they were not being financed by the federal government or state government, they will still, because there was no inflation. Private school then was really still comparable to public school in terms of many other things, because even if they have collected money as loans from schools and from government or from wherever, they were able to adjust positively. But because of the present economic hardship, private schools, the minimum wage have not been affecting them positively. But that is one of the reasons we are here. In as much as the minimum wage may not have been affecting private schools positively, but well, after the fact that There's no way you cannot say because I operate a private school, there's no need for me to join the public servants or public workers in paying my school. If you do that, definitely it's going to affect your school negatively because so many things will happen like my colleagues have explained earlier. You are going to lose a lot of teachers, you are going to lose so many things. So then if one should go down the memory lane, what can we say are the noticeable changes, or better still, what are the advantages that people both in the public and the private sector can say yes, we can actually say these are the gains during the minimum wage changes. Positively, in the public school we have seen increased salary for teachers and staff. Yeah, as it has affected the public school and the school teachers positively in the increased salary for teachers and staff. Actually, it has happened in the private sectors too, because you can't say because, like I said earlier, you have a private school, because yes, I'm a private owner, I can do what I like. Your teachers, they listen to news, they know what is happening in the society, they know that immediately the government, both the state and the federal government, increase their salary, the salaries of their colleagues in the public sector. They want the same. So it will be advantageous to teachers both privately and publicly, because increase in minimum wage automatically means increase in salaries for teachers and staff. Then one thing I can say negatively about this is that in as much as the increase in salaries for teachers and staff both in the public and private, there's going to be higher operational costs for schools. Yes, higher operational costs for the schools. The public schools may not be affected directly or indirectly because these are financed by the by government or state government. But what about the private school owners, in which you are one, I am one, and we gather here to be able to solve this problem? There's going to be higher operational costs for schools, especially private school. Like I said, they need to look for ways of making more money to be able to compete with their fellows in the public sectors in terms of teachers, because whether your teachers are private or public, they always want the same thing. They want to enjoy, the private teacher want to enjoy the same thing that the public teachers are enjoying. So on the disadvantage side, there is going to be a higher operational cost for private schools. So that is a minus, because when you have higher operational costs, that means you have to be on your toes to be able to enroll more students, to be able to bring more income into private schools, your private institution, to be able to meet up with people out there in the private. Then potential, when we have minimum wage change, there is always a potential for improved teacher motivation and retention. That is a very major advantage for both the public and the private, because my interest is more on private schools. That is a plus. Potential for improved teacher motivation and retention. When the teachers are well paid, there's a possibility that majority of them will improve, because money brings about motivation. Money is a very it's an instrument of motivation. When you increase your teacher salary, they will love you for that. That means they are not left out of their colleagues in the public sector. So there's going to be a retention of teachers. On this our platform not too long ago, we discussed something on how we can retain good teachers. So there's going to be a wonderful retention for teachers. So I can automatically and authoritatively say that changes in wages can improve and can bring about potential for improvement on the side of teacher motivation and retention. Then let's look. I'm missing both the advantages and disadvantages together, but because of this study, may be able to separate them separately. But the way I'm explaining it, I believe it is well understood. Talking about the advantages and disadvantages again, there's a possible increase in school fees to accommodate higher operational costs. This may be possible. This might be much more easier in public school, because even most of the public schools, most schools like I learned, they are free. But those that are not totally free, there are some schools that are very, very free in Lagos State. In Ogun State here, it was supposed to be free, but there are so many public schools surrounding that have been able to see that they collect money, but not as much as public schools. Some 5,000, some 12,000. There was recently somebody told me that a particular public school asked the newcomers to pay 12,000 naira, uniform and everything inclusive. So let them now come to our private schools. So there is going immediately there is possible increase in school fees to accommodate higher operational costs. It's not going to be too easy, you see, because of the economy challenges. Even many schools are very much afraid now to increase school fees. Like in my own school, we have been systematically increasing school fees because parents do not even want to listen to that, because they will tell you that majority have not been able to pay for the little that your school has been collecting, not to talk of increment. So on private sector, that is a disadvantage. It is a minus because your pupils, your parents, they don't want increase to take place. But for you to be able to meet up with this 17,000 naira minimum wage, you must increase your school fees. God will help us to be able to do this systematically that will not affect our schools. Then talking about the impact on school budgets and resource allocation, increments is going to impact our school budgets and resource allocation. Like I said earlier, in public school, this may be very easy, but in private sector, it will not be very, very easy at all. That means you have to rearrange your budget, you have to cut short, you have to cut some things that are not too important, like a colleague of us here will have explained to us under the consequences of the 70,000 naira minimum wage in Nigeria, whether it is payable. So you have to do a lot of things. You have to be, because it's going to have an impact on school budgets and resource allocation. So with all this, you can see that it is not easy at all for private schools. Talking about the history, it can affect the public school positively more than the private schools because of all those things I have mentioned. Though there are many advantages there too for the private school, like I've mentioned, but it is more weightier when we are talking of disadvantage because of the economic hardship. So, like I've mentioned teacher salaries. There must be increase in teacher salary. It will be easier for the public school, but it will be a little bit tight for private schools. And changes in the minimum wage can influence teacher salaries, like I've said, and it can impact their morale and retention. So it is very important for school owners listening to us this afternoon to make sure that the first thing they have to do is to look for a way of making more money for their schools so that they can be able to meet up with their colleagues in the public school, so that these very, very, very serious advantages of teacher retention can come about. So that is it. Thank you very much. Thank you.